Welcome back, my friends, to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan, and I have Adam Trigger, as always, on Tuesday mornings here live, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And before we get into anything, I want to really encourage you guys to get over to sportsmemo.com right after the show, or do it during the show, because you can get 7 days of Adam Trigger's all-access subscription for just $49 using the promo code you see at the bottom of the screen, which is, it's coming up here, for just $49 using the promo code Adam49. Okay, so Adam49 at the checkout. The link right there, sm.buzz/TFS, will take you right to his profile page. I don't hear any excuses that you didn't go do it. I promise you'll be glad that you did. You'll get excellent research, excellent insight, and hopefully it'll come out being a profit. But he's not going to lose every play either. That's not going to happen. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thanks for having me, John. Looking forward
you bet.
to chatting as always. And yeah, head over to my page. I'll have a lot of baseball over the next 7 days. And I'll just be honest. I had a little bit of a down first half of the baseball season for like the first time in a while. And I always say this: when you're buying plays, I mean, you want to put yourself in the best position to win. I love being able to go out and market a streak, but I also think that you want to try to buy low when you can. I've hit back-to-back now in MLB. I fully expect to have a big second half. I think it's going to be a good run over the next couple months in baseball, but we'll see.
Let's take a quick glance at baseball right now. Last week, on every one of the shows that I hosted, we did talk about the Cincinnati Reds and a few other teams, but specifically the Reds as a team that was flying under the radar. And despite losing all 3 games to Milwaukee and now falling behind by 7 games in the National League Central, I think now more than ever is the time to take some pizza money and put it on the Reds. You still feel the same way after getting swept?
Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't like totally changed my tune on them. I still think the Reds are a very capable team, and they're probably going to be in the mix here in the wild card race. But there's no question this weekend certainly hurt. I mean, to lose 4 straight, Milwaukee, to lose to Milwaukee, and now having lost 4 straight last night, blowing, kind of. I don't know that they blew that game, but they lost it in extras. It was certainly a game they could have won. They've certainly made life difficult for themselves as far as the division is concerned. But they're only 6 games back for the wild card. There's still a lot of baseball to play. We're only in the middle of July, so plenty of time left. So yeah, I would kind of agree with you. I don't think I've one series is going to start the second half is going to completely have me just off the Reds. That being said, they probably made life much more difficult for them in the division with what happened over the weekend.
Yeah, no question. And I want to talk about the Phillies, too, because now we have Jacob deGrom on the IL, which we talked about Friday afternoon at Manny's Irish Pub Show. And, Tony Finn and Rob Vino nailed that there's rarely a season that deGrom does not go down in the second half for at least a week, 2 weeks, sometimes longer. Mm-hmm. And almost like Nostradamus-like discussion, lo and behold, it happens. And, unfortunately, it happens. I don't wish injury on anybody. But we also talked about Wheeler of the Phillies being a great pizza bet money. When I say pizza bet, guys, it means like $10, $15. Depending on where you live, pizzas are different prices, but certainly not more than $25 on these types of bets. But Wheeler now could pull off the upset and win the Cy Young, depending on how long deGrom's out. And I'm believing more and more in this Phillies offense. They are the hottest team in the National League. And it almost sounds like I'm saying that in error, because you would never associate the Phillies or any team from the National League East being the single hottest team in National League right now. But they have 2 games against the Yankees coming up, so it doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any easier for the Yankees either, who are really, despite doing okay against Boston, they have 4 more games coming up against Boston right after they finished the 2-game set with the Phillies. So, any thoughts on the Phillies taking control of that division?
Yeah, so actually, I haven't put out a best bet yet in baseball today. I have a bunch of thoughts and sort of games I'm considering, and the Phillies today is definitely one of them. I'll start with just the Phillies in the context of potentially making the playoffs. I definitely think this team can make the playoffs. I definitely think they can win the NL East. How ironic would it be if Wheeler ends up beating out DeGrom for the Cy Young, of course.
How about it?
Former Met right there. But yeah, the Phillies, Aaron Nola comes back tonight. He's pitching, and the Yankees swing and miss a ton. Aaron Nola gets more swings and misses on his curveball than like anyone in the last decade, or like say it's something crazy. Like his swing and miss rate on his curveball is like historically good for like the modern era.
Like Clayton Kershaw good.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's coming off of a bit of and I think he had COVID maybe. I think he was coming off like missing a start to COVID or something like that. But he's bad. So anyway, he's pitching tonight. And like you said, I know the Yankees played well over the weekend. I actually cashed with them on Sunday Night Baseball. And I still think, like, we've been having this conversation for months. Like, I still think the Yankees are capable of probably more than they've shown to this point in the season. But they're still missing a couple guys, and I think this could be a good spot for the Phillies. I've always liked Aaron Nola. I mean, he's always been like a play-on pitcher for me. And then just to go back to, the NL East, in my opinion, it's a 2-team race right now. I think I said this last week when we were talking second half futures that I thought the Braves would kind of bow out. Like there was no way that they could compete with the number of injuries they currently have. And I still feel that way, even though they're 4.5 games back coming into play today. It feels like an insurmountable 4.5 back to me. It feels like a 4.5 back that's going to become 6 or 7.5, 8.5 in the near future. I think the Phillies are they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're certainly trending in the right direction right now. And the Mets, they're not. I mean, they're still a good team, but with you take DeGrom out, and they haven't played very good on. They've been poor on the road. We talked about it last week as well. The Phillies have a slight negative run differential. The Mets run differential is only +9 on the whole year, and think about how that might decline. With losing one of the best, arguably the best starter in baseball, for sure the time being. So yeah, I think the Phillies would be the way to go here. I have a feeling that they're going to leapfrog the Mets sooner than later in the NL East standings. I mean, they're only 2.5 back right now. And yeah, they would be a team I'd look to play on sort of going forward.
Yeah, and there was a season. I'm going to have to look this up for this afternoon for Manny's Pub Show at 4 o'clock Eastern. There was a season, I'm just saying this, 2011 sticks in my head. In the last week of the regular season, the Mets were chased down by the Phillies, who were 6 games behind them. The Phillies won out, the Mets lost out, and the Phillies won a division. And this kind of has a similar feel to it. I don't know if the Phillies will be 6 games out with 10 days to go, but I think it was 10 games and they were 6 games out. We'll have to look that up to be sure. But
it was right around. It was either my senior year of college or right around after that, because I had a lot of my Siena friends are Mets fans, and I just remember that happening. And it was in that 2008, 9, 10, 11 range somewhere.
It probably wasn't 08. That was the year the Phillies won the World Series, and then 09 they lost to the Yankees in the World Series.
That's right. So
I think it was after that.
So it would have been after that. Yeah.
But
you're right. I vividly remember that, happening game by game as it was happening. Yeah.
And to your point, Nola has had 2 career starts against the Yankees. Both have been extraordinarily good because of their aggressive behavior at the plate. And the last time he pitched against them was June 13th of this season, 7-0 Phillies win. It was a home game in Philadelphia, but he went 7 2/3, 0 earned runs, obviously, 3 hits, 1 walk, 9 Ks.
Yeah,
and I agree with you. I think the same thing will happen tonight.
So I don't do a ton of props, but his strikeout prop over has cashed quite a bit this year. Now the problem is it started to cash right off the bat, so it's probably inflated a little bit. But I would be very the Yankees. They just swing and miss a ton, and against someone like Nola who has such a good curveball when he's on. And I'm not saying that he's on right now per se, but he tends to do really well against teams that swing and miss a lot. So, and you pointed it out earlier, I guess that would be the only slight concern is that the Yankees already saw him. So you would think, the way I look at things sometimes, I look and say, okay, are they going to make an adjustment having just seen him? I like to I love betting pitchers that have a bit of unfamiliarity where a team hasn't seen them. It gets harder to do as the season goes along. But yeah, there's no question Nola was dominant against the Yankees earlier this year. I feel like it was maybe a 7-inning game, maybe. He might have gone the distance or close to it. I thought they might have played a doubleheader. I could be wrong about that.
Well, he went 7 2/3. So
oh no, it wouldn't have been. Okay, never mind. I was thinking of a different series, but yeah. Okay, so there you go. He works into the 8th inning. That's a pretty dominant start.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, like I said, it's either Phillies or nothing for me there, and I just really haven't decided if it's gonna make best bet status for me. But it's definitely one I'm considering strongly for today.
And they are favored, not by much, -110, -115 range at most of the books. It's still early. Be interesting to see how that line goes between now and 4 o'clock. And
I was going to say, I think it's already gone a little bit. I think it might have moved up to -120. I'm going to look right now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think, it looks like -125 to -130 already.
There you go.
Which does not at all surprise me. I'm not sure if I'll jump in at that price, but I also, that's still a pretty, -125 is still a pretty reasonable price. I would still consider it there, and I might even still play it. I haven't kind of wanted to see lineups, but haven't decided yet.
All right, we'll move on to the NBA game tonight. It is a big one. It's Game 6 of the NBA Finals, of course, and it's Milwaukee going for their first NBA championship since 1971. And Phoenix is going to have their hands full in a very, very noisy arena with, those fans have all day to prepare and be ready to cheer their team on to victory. And I'm going to start with this total because I know you have some thoughts on the side. So let's pull up this little gem here. So this is the setup for this system that supports my model. So this is actually a 4-unit play that you're getting here. It's not going to be released on the Sportsmemo site because it's not fair to people to pay for something when they can get it free here, right? So the road team has lost 3 straight games in the series. And this was actually hard to write, so I'm going to make sure you all understand it. The road team won the first 2 games of the series. So of the same series, sorry. So that doesn't overlap any other previous series. You obviously wouldn't lose Game 6 and then move on if there wasn't a Game 7. So to clarify that point, and also, how the series has gone. So the team that is the road team now won the first 2 games at home, and then they have since lost 3 in a row, which is what the Bucks have done. So the home team is perfect. It's held serve. This most recent game, the home team did not hold serve. That's another way to look at this. And of course, our road team is dressed as an underdog. The over is 28-15 for 65% last 20 playoff seasons. 13-5 if our dog is 6 or fewer points, including pick'em. So I say bet the over as a 4-unit play in Game 6. And don't forget, it's hard for me to forget, but I know a lot of people look at Milwaukee and still don't realize that they were the fastest paced team in the NBA during the regular season. So if Phoenix wants to play fast, the Bucks will oblige. There's no question about it. But segueing our way into the side selection now, Adam, the biggest concern I have for the Suns is Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday has made Chris Paul's life borderline nightmare. Now, Chris Paul only had one turnover in Game 5, which was nothing short of miraculous. But Holiday sure made him work, and it affected his offensive play, offensive scoring. So, with that said, how in the world... Oh, by the way, the Suns are 10-4 in the playoffs when Chris Paul had a game of 2 or fewer turnovers. Just another little nugget there. Not trying to set you up to take the Suns. Just saying that is the situation. But how do you see the Suns being able to free Paul up? You know, if they bring Ayton out there, then he's away from the basket to set a screen. Milwaukee's showing that they can flip back and forth defenders almost like magic very quickly after they run screens. And that's the adjustment that Coach Bud made. And I guess my question to you, and maybe there is no answer, but the question is, how does the Suns adjust so that they can win this game?
So, John, my answer is they don't. The only way I could play this is Bucks, and I'll just go. I've talked about it on this show and every other show I've been on, and if you follow my plays, you will know that. So I bet the Bucks in Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5. So I'm 3-0 in the NBA Finals already. And it doesn't. Last year I think I made one NBA Finals bet the whole series. I sat out Game 1 and Game 2 in this series, but as soon as Milwaukee went down 2-0, and I saw the way they lost Game 2, where they dominated points in the paint, and they lost by the Suns basically going 20 for 40 from 3. I just said to myself, it's hard to just consistently win if you're going to get crushed on the boards and get crushed in the paint. And that's kind of what happened to Phoenix, yet they were up 2-0 in the series. So, the only way after I've backed the Bucks Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, I've covered it. I've covered all of them. Obviously, the Bucks won outright in Game 5. The only way I could come back and play this is to lay the points with the Bucks here. I have not done it yet. Typically, and the reason I haven't done it yet is I haven't convinced myself yet that this is it for the Suns. It's really difficult to just rattle off 4 straight wins against a team. And that's really like the only spot I've got myself hung up, why I haven't got to the window yet is, are the Bucks just going to come out and win 4 straight games? And now, of course, since it's in Milwaukee, I'm going to have to lay a number to back them. It'd be a little bit different if I didn't have to lay 5 or 4.5 or 5. That being said, I haven't ruled out doing that because I really do think Milwaukee is the superior team here. And it's kind of like I've been saying all series, the Suns, to beat the Bucks, the Suns have to just go off from 3. I don't think they have a way to beat this Milwaukee team unless they completely shoot the lights out. I'm willing to almost throw out Game 1 because if you remember, it seems like a really long time ago since we had 3 days off between every finals game. But if you go back to Game 1, that was the game where we didn't know Giannis was going to play until about 10 minutes before the game. And he was obviously playing banged up. So the Suns, that's one of the games that they won. And then if you go back to Game 2, it was the game where the Suns shot 20 for 40 from 3. And generally, if you're going to just hit 23s and shoot them at a 50% clip, it's probably going to be a win. But the subsequent games, I want to say it might have been Game 4. Game 3 was a blowout win for the Bucks. Game 4, the Bucks pulled away and won and covered, and they were outshot. I think Phoenix shot 50%, and the Bucks shot like 40%, and the Bucks were still able to pull away, win that game, and cover. And then, of course, Game 5, you had the Suns came out, they shot it well for a quarter, and as soon as the shot stopped falling, Milwaukee erased in, what was it, like an 16-point lead within a matter of like 10 minutes, and it was never close the rest of the way. So for me, the only way the Suns win this game or even cover is if they shoot the lights out. Booker has another game where, like in game 2, he just every time that the Suns needed to score, he made a really tough shot. Now that's how the Suns would have to win, in my opinion. And the thing is, they're capable of doing it, but it's a lot harder to do on the road. So, to them going into Milwaukee, shooting the lights out and winning here, or even covering, I mean, it's possible, but I'm certainly not betting the Suns. If anything, I would have to lay it with the Bucks and just try to, press this run I'm on here with Milwaukee and try to hope that they just go out and roll for the 4th straight time. But like I said, Bucks are nothing for me. I haven't locked anything in yet, but that's the only way I would bet that's the only way I could play this game.
I'm with you on that, and as you know, I like the over as well as a 4-minute play.
I can't disagree with you there, John, because even though I don't do a ton with NBA totals, because I do think the Suns are going to hit some shots at some point. And if they're shooting and making shots, this game will probably go over the total.
Yeah, and to your point, the Suns blew a 16-point lead after the first quarter. I actually humbly said I actually betted in-game on the Bucks at that point. My line was plus 12.5. That soon became a winning bet with the second quarter.
Yeah.
But you could see it. I mean, like Ski Prophet always says, you use your eyes, right? When you're watching a game, you learn from it. And it was pretty clear, at least in my opinion, that Phoenix was shooting lights out. And
88, I think they shot 78% in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was like the same number from 3.
I think it was 80%, and then someone missed like a half-court shot at the buzzer or something, which is just insane. So, that could have only went one way. They were only going to regress from that point, right, for the game.
Yep. So, yeah, and I didn't think they were going to regress to the tune of what they did.
No.
But their defense regressed. The defense was non-existent in that second quarter. I mean, you don't put up 43 points, against an NBA team in the playoffs too often, but they did. And the game before that, keep in mind, the Suns were up 6 going into the fourth quarter to take a 3-1 lead in game 4 and blew it.
Yep.
So now they've had 2 games where they they were significant leads and they didn't come away with a win. And that's something that's really hard for any team at any level to overcome. So I do definitely agree with you that it's the Bucks or nothing. In my case, it would be the Bucks or over and over.
Yeah,
but looking at
one more thing with the Bucks, though, and I've been saying it all playoffs, which I think is like starting to show. I was critical, or I've been critical about the Bucks more so in past years, not so much this year, where like Budenholzer plays a really deep rotation, and I think sometimes he plays too many guys. But this year, it's really worked out because they look like far more the fresher team, and their second unit is much better than Phoenix's, in my opinion. Like their depth has started to show up. It started to show in the series with the Nets, and it's starting to show here. Like they're the deeper team. They score easier points. They get the majority. They're crushing the Suns in the paint. So yeah, I mean, for Phoenix to cover this game, they're going to have to just shoot the lights out. And I haven't, which they could. They very well could. They certainly have the guys to do it. But yeah, it would have to be Bucks lay the 4.5 or the 5 of the Bucks or not at all for me.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm going to watch the beginning of the game, and I'll tell you what I'm going to look at for is how the Suns are going to set that screen to free Chris Paul up. And I think what we'll see is that as soon as that pick is set and it's effective on Holiday, Chris Paul will get rid of the ball. And that's the part that has not been happening in previous games, because then they can use their ball movement, which is extraordinarily good, to their advantage and rotate the ball side to side and get that open guy. If Chris Paul gets a screen and he still has the ball, then it's going to be the same old story. And Drew Holiday has proven that he's one of the best defensive players in the league, period.
Sure.
And, I don't mean to draw a comparison to my good pal Ben Simmons, but Drew Holiday is not known for his offensive prowess. And I don't care if Drew Holiday. If I'm a Bucks fan, I could care less whether he scores 10 points, 8 points, 6 points. I just want to see him make life really miserable for Chris Paul, and obviously he has, and he will tonight again. So on player props, before I let you go, do you see anything? I can start us off here.
So
I've been riding Chris Middleton the last 2 games. The last 2 games he was 31.5, 29.5. Now he's 38.5 plus 100, and I still like the over on that. He's just been an absolute beast in the playoffs, and he won't get the MVP. But probably if I was voting, I would vote for him to get the MVP. I won't be betting that, but he is the man.
They would have been in trouble the last couple games without like Middleton was the impact. I would say the biggest impact player. Certainly in Game 4. He's been great. I don't do a ton with props. I do have one that kind of segues off of what you were just talking about that I thought was a little bit low, and it may have moved, but I saw like Drew Holiday's, like I think it was rebounds was only like 4.5. It might be up to like 5.5, but it seems to me like he should accumulate at least 6 rebounds at some point in this game. Just how hard he plays and how many minutes he plays. That doesn't seem like that difficult to go over. That was one that kind of jumped out to me on a quick look. I really don't do a ton with player props, but that was just one that came to mind.
I definitely like that one, and I always, for whatever reason, I have a love affair with triple doubles. They actually don't have that listed yet, but they will later today. I'm sure we'll be talking about it at 4:00. Which I believe you'll be attending Manny's Irish Pub this afternoon. Is that right?
I can stop by.
All right, that would be cool. It's always optional for Manny's Irish Pub.
I'd be more firm on what I'm going to do for the day at that point. So yeah, I will pop in, and I'll probably have plays locked in by 4:00. So
yeah, that sounds good. And then we can talk more about this NBA game with Tony Finn and Rob Vino and Tony Mejia. All 3 are from Wager Talk, so we combine forces of the 2 stables, as I like to say. But Adam, really appreciate your time here. And guys, gals, I don't know how else to say it. I don't want to come across and try to be mad here or insist on something, because it's really hard for me to do that, let alone promote myself. But get Adam's package today. Spend the $49. It's 7 days. That's $7 per day, guys. That's a pint of an IPA. If you're worried about budget, then don't drink one of the 3 that you usually have every day. Do something like that, because then you got it paid. But seriously, get his picks. Use the promo code Adam49 over at sportsmemo.com, and you can see the link directly to his profile page, and you'll see the 7-day subscription, all access, and you're making a good move by doing that, and that much I can promise you. So on behalf of Adam Trigger of Top Flight Sports, myself, the Predictive Playbook, wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com,